Hey there, it is Thursday, March 14th, and this is Treasure Christ Today. Welcome back. My name's John Michael, one of the pastors here at the Bridge Church. And we're in Genesis chapter 10 today as we continue our study in Genesis as we are treasuring Jesus Christ every single day. This chapter has a long list of names, so follow along with us and see if I get tripped up trying to pronounce some of these Hebrew names as we read on. So start with us in verse 1. These are the family records of Noah's sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. They also had sons after the flood. Japheth's sons, Gomer, Magog, Madai, Javan, Tubal, Meshech, and Tiras. Gomer's sons, Ashkenaz, Riphath, and Togarmah. And Javan's sons, Elishah, Tarshish, Kittim, and Dodanim. From these descendants, the peoples of the coast and islands spread out into their lands according to their clans, in their nations, each with its own language. Ham's sons, Cush, Mizraim, Put, and Canaan. Cush's sons, Seba, Havilah, Sabta, Raamah, and Sebteca. And Raamah's sons, Sheba and Dedan. Cush fathered Nimrod, who began to be powerful in the land. He was a powerful hunter in the sight of the Lord. That is why it is said, like Nimrod, a powerful hunter in the sight of the Lord. His kingdom started with Babylon, Erech, Akkad, and Calneh in the land of Shinar. From that land, he went to Assyria and built Nineveh, Rehoboth-ir, and Calah, and Rezin between Nineveh and the great city Calah. Mizraim fathered the people of Lud, Anam, Lehab, Naphtah, Pathros, and Kaslah. The Philistines came from them, and Caphtor. Canaan fathered Sidon and his firstborn, and Heth, as well as the Jebusites, the Amorites, the Girgashites, the Hivites, the Arkites, the Sinites, the Arvadites, the Zamorites, and the Hamathites. Afterwards, the Canaanite clans scattered. The Canaanite border went from Sidon going towards Gerar and as far as Gaza, and going towards Sodom, Gomorrah, Admah, and Zeboim, as far as Lasha. And these are Ham's sons by their clans, according to their languages, in their lands and their nations. And Shem, Japheth's older brother, also had sons. Shem was the father of all the sons of Eber. And Shem's sons were Elam, Ashur, Arpachshad, Lud, and Aram. Aram's sons, Uz, Hul, Gether, and Mash. Arpachshad's fathered Shelah, and Shelah fathered Eber. Eber had two sons. One was named Peleg, for during his days the earth was divided. His brother was named Joktan. And Joktan fathered Almadad, Shelef, Hazar-Maveth, Jerah, Hadaram, Azal, Diklah, Obal, Abimael, Sheba, Ophir, Havilah, and Jobab. All these were Joktan's sons. Their settlements extended from Mesha to Sephar, the eastern hill country. These are Shem's sons by their clans, according to their languages, in their lands and their nations. These are the clans of Noah's sons, according to their family records in their nations, the nations of earth spread out from these after the flood. This is the word of the Lord. Here in Genesis chapter 10, verse 1, we encounter this marker that we have already seen several times in the text. These are the family records of Noah's sons. These are the Toledot. This is the generations that come from Noah's sons. And we've seen that this word marks the sections in the book of Genesis. 10 different times we encountered these sections, starting in chapter 2, verse 4. And then we saw it in chapter 5, verse 1, and then chapter 6, verse 8, and now here in chapter 10, verse 1. And so it's going to describe the family histories that flow from Shem, Ham, and Japheth. So first, from verse 2 through 5, we encounter Japheth's sons. Then from verse 6 all the way down to verse 20, we encounter Ham's sons. And then finally, 21 till the end of the passage, we encounter Shem's sons. Japheth's sons are the smallest amount, but we do have some names that we encounter later on in the Bible. So Magog and Tubal and Meshech are names that you will encounter in the book of Ezekiel. His sons spread out along the coastlands and to the north. And so they pressed into what is known in the Old Testament as Asia Minor. Today it would be in the areas of Turkey and Georgia and Azerbaijan, and pressing on up into Russia, where they would settle. And so these names represent the sons and their clans as they spread out across the earth. Not only did some of their sons spread north, some of them spread westward. And so the name Katim here, that is referencing Cyprus, and then Tarshish is a name that we encounter in the book of Jonah to represent the land all the way out towards Spain. And so it was from Japheth's sons that the peoples of the earth spread out through the islands in the Mediterranean Sea and then settled. Elisha is very possible is the one that settled Italy. And so we encounter Japheth's son spreading out. And then the biggest section in chapter 10 focuses on Ham's sons. And the names under Ham's sons, we're going to have Cush and Put. These are to the west and to the south of Egypt. So Cush would be the Ethiopian area, Put would be the Libya area. And then we see Canaan in verse 6, and he's going to describe the sons of Canaan. And the list that we see for the sons of Canaan will become very familiar for those who studied the Old Testament as the enemies of God, the Canaanites there. And so we find in verse 16, we hear about the Jebusites, the Amorites, the Girgashites, the Hivites, the Arkites, the Sinites, the Arvadites, the Zamorites, and the Hamathites. These are the peoples that lived in the Canaan area when Israel came out of Egypt and tried to enter into the land. And so these are those that settled in the promised land that had to be kicked out of the land. Noteworthy here, this is also where the Philistines come from Caslah's line. And then finally, under Ham's son, a very interesting detail, we find that Nimrod is the one who started the kingdoms of Babylon in the land of Shinar. And ultimately from that land, he went to Assyria. So in this list, under Ham's sons, we encounter basically all of the major people groups that will fight against Israel throughout the rest of the Old Testament, from Egypt to Babylon to Assyria to all the Canaanite groups to the Philistines. And you need to note that it all comes from Ham's family. And what did we encounter at the end of chapter 9? Because of the sin of Ham against his father Noah cursed Ham. And we tracked that the cursing of an individual tracks back to Genesis chapter 3, when God cursed the serpent. And then in Genesis 4, when God cursed Cain. And now Genesis 9, God cursed Ham for his sin. And so we see here in Genesis 10 the outworking of that curse, where the family lineage of Ham winds up spreading out and becoming the nations that will fight against the people of God for the rest of the story. And so it is a literal example of the seed of the serpent fighting against the seed of the woman. Well, the seed of the woman is going to be tracked through Shem's lineage. Ultimately, Abraham will come from Shem. And so the last verses of our text will walk through the line of Shem from verses 21 on. And he is the father of Eber and the father of Arpachshad, and the father of Joktan. And we wind up seeing here some of these people groups coming from Shem will inhabit the areas down in the Saudi Arabia areas, down south of the Red Sea, and down in the land approaching modern day Oman. In those areas, they're also finding land. Lud will go toward the western coast of Asia Minor and up towards Greece, and will be settling there. And so these people settle out across the land, and eventually from this lineage, we are going to encounter the lineage to which Abraham will come from. Now, the last thing I want you to note here is this text is describing where these people all settle, but chapter 11 is going to describe why they got scattered and the fact that they all have different languages. And so chapter 10 is not happening all before chapter 11 happens. And one of the ways we note that is because of the name Peleg. In verse 25, Eber had two sons. One was named Peleg, for during his days the earth was divided. That phrase is going to set us up for what we see in chapter 11 at the Tower of Babel. It's under the days of Peleg that the earth is divided under the command of God to separate the peoples of the earth as they basically do a reverse order of how God designed them to be. Yes, God designed and blessed mankind, blessed Noah and his family to be fruitful and multiply and spread out across the earth. But his purpose was for them to spread out across the earth to bring glory to God, to spread out across the earth as image bearers and reflect his glory wherever they went. But what we find from Japheth, Ham, and Shem's families is as these peoples spread out across the earth, they did not desire to bring glory to the Lord. They desired to bring glory to themselves. And so they rebelled against their creator and they sought to make a name for themselves. Indeed, this is the challenge that we have today. For those who are in Jesus Christ, we treasure the image of God who is Jesus Christ, and we are being made into that image. And our purpose is not to spread out across the earth like these in chapter 10 have in order to make a name for ourselves. Our purpose is to treasure Christ and to spread out across the earth to make a name for Jesus, to bring glory to him. So I encourage you to this very day to submit yourself to the Lord, treasure Jesus, and seek to bring glory to his name. Love you guys. We'll see you back here tomorrow for Treasure Christ Today. Grace and peace.